Hello and welcome. Damn it, Glenn. Hello and welcome to the 94th gathering of the Adventure Party on this, the 16th of September, 2018. I'm your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and have your die rolls ready before joining us at the meeting table. This meeting of the Adventure Party is brought to you by our Patreon partners, Brian Jensen, my cell phone alarm. There we go. That's handy. Amy Cantwell, Amy Frost, Growly Bear, Jackie Hearn, and JF DeBow. We'll tell you more about how you can become a partner with us later on in the episode. So, without further ado, before I do that, our intro was a little lackluster. I'll give you that. We're going to be talking about fudging the numbers, fudging things a little bit to keep the story going. There are folks who live and die by literally the die roll. And those are the folks who, and again, nothing wrong with it, but they take the time to build the character, they put the points in and all this, and if it ever slips that, that roll really wasn't that important, this was going to happen anyway, some people lose their freaking minds. And it is just a game. It's cooperative storytelling. It's everything that we talk about with every meeting of the Adventure Party, but some folks just aren't down with that. And I think that, especially the older that our group, or when I say our group, the group that I game with, have been gaming, there are some folks who were very, very much, my die rolls should determine the outcome of all the things. They've really mellowed out, and they realize, especially after they've run some stuff, that the story's more important. It's always more important, should always be more important. And that's what we're going to talk about. How do you deal with folks that have found out that you've fudged something to move a story forward, and not so much to take the choice out of somebody's hands, but to keep the game moving in a certain direction. Because sometimes, and I think we've all been in that game, where somebody picks up a breadcrumb and they just frickin' go off, and you haven't prepared anything for that, and you need to herd those cats back in the direction from that wild goose that they're chasing to move on with the story. And you got to fudge it to make it happen. So we're going to talk about that this evening. When I say we, I mean my friend and cohort, Glenn Bittner. Hi, Glenn. Hi, Brad. He's a movie reviewer on the YouTube show, The B-Movie Bunker, and he has created an RPG called Mist Runner, and he is still working on his prequel called Demon Eater. How are things going with Demon Eater? Enough said. All right. So, life gets in the way, and
actually, the biggest problem is that I've been spending so much time playing other RPGs. I haven't had time to work on mine. So.
Okay, I was willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, but yeah.
Well, I'm running 3 games a week. So
is that all? That takes a lot of time to put that together. So you most certainly get a pass, sir. Absolutely. As always, we're going to roundtable our game review, which Glenn has prepared for us, which I'm very excited about. The gaming news, I don't know. I'm not sure we should keep it. We've kind of skipped it.
A lot.
I
think when something really cool comes up, we can have it, but it doesn't need to be around all the time.
Yeah. The only thing gaming wise that's really, I mean, besides Cyberpunk 2077, which, you know, that gameplay video came out a few weeks ago, as of this broadcast. I haven't seen the Call of Cthulhu. It now has a release date for PS4, Xbox One, and PC, which is October 30th, which is a beautiful date for it to hit right before Halloween. You know, I haven't seen a whole lot that's really captured my attention. So
yeah,
we'll just catch as catch can. So anyways, then we're going to just chit chat about fudging stuff in the game to keep it rolling. So let's kick this off with your review of a game called The Mind.
So The Mind is a pretty new game. It's for 2 to 4 players. Takes about 15 minutes. Retails for $15. As they describe it, The Mind is not just a game. It's an experiment, a journey, a team experience in which you can't exchange information, yet you'll become one to defeat all the levels of the game. So this game consists of a deck of cards numbered 1 to 100. And there's some other little bonus cards you can have as well. But the most important thing is the cards numbered 1 to 100. These are shuffled. And depending on the number of players determines how many rounds you have to play. If you're 2 players is 12 rounds, 10 players is 3 rounds, or 4 players is 8 rounds. Round 1. The 2 of you are dealt 1 card. So we're just saying it's you and me playing, Brad, so just 2 of us. You and I are dealt 1 card each.
Okay.
We will then touch hands to basically become one, kind of, get our minds, in sync, kind of have that synergy or whatever you want to call it.
Bye. Okay.
Yeah. We will then look at our card. Each of us will look at our card. We can't tell each other what our card is. But one of us needs to figure out if they have the lowest card. If you think you have the lowest card, you will play it on the table. If you're correct, then your teammate will play their card, which should be higher than you. If you're wrong, you lose a life. Lives is equal to the number of players. So in a 2-player game, we only have 2 lives. We have to make it through 12 rounds.
Oh,
so,
geez.
Yes. This game involves a lot of staring at each other. Because you have no idea what your opponent has. Well, sorry, not opponent, what your teammate has. And they have no idea what you have. So, I mean, round 1's not too hard. It's 1 card. So if you got something that's, say, like a 20, you're like, well, pretty good odds that my teammate's going to have something higher than me, so I'll play my 20. Unless they, like, rush out, And, I mean, if you have, like, a card that's under 10, you're going to play that right away. so your teammate's not going, oh, maybe my 24 is the highest. So great. We win round 1. You played your 7. I played my 39. Boom. All right. Round 2. We get 2 cards each. We touch hands, get in sync again. Pick those cards up and look at them. We still have to play them in numerical order without knowing. I know 2 cards, but I don't know what yours are. Now, again, you got something super low. You want to play that quick, but it gets harder. And all of a sudden it's like, man, I have a 44 and a 77. And I'm staring at you and you're playing nothing. So I'm like, crap, does he have something higher than 44? Oh, all right, I'll play my 44. And then I wait, and then you play a 52. And I'm like, okay, great. And now we're both staring at each other again because now it's like, oh, I've got my 77. What does he have? And then we stare at each other. Then you play your cards. Hey, a 64. Awesome. I play my 77. Great. We won again. Round 3. 3 cards each. And it just keeps going up. Every round, you're getting the number of cards. Each player's getting the number of cards equal to the rounds. So in a 2-player game, if you make it to round 12, we each have 12 cards.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
So you do get these cards called shurikens, basically throwing stars. Everyone starts with 1. And there's ways you can win some more over the course of the game. You can get a reward or you can get an extra life as you play. But you have a shuriken. What it allows you to do, it allows each player to discard their lowest card face up. It's basically giving some information to everyone else and getting us closer to completing the goal. So, I mean, at the start of the game, we both have, 2 shuriken. We hopefully don't blow them on round 1 or 2. And like I said, you can win more over the course of the game. Some rounds give you a reward for winning the round. So you make it through round 2, you're going to get another shuriken. I believe round 3 or 4 gives you another life. So trying to make it through all those rounds. And I had shown this to someone, and they were saying, well, why do you play more rounds with 2 players? It sounds like it's harder as a 2-player game. Really? You think it's harder? 2 players. In that final round, that 12th round, are going to get 24 cards between the 2 of them. Yeah, that sounds tough. Ooh, but a 4-player game, play only 8 rounds, that 8th round, you have 32 cards out there.
Yep.
So, and I mean, a 2-player game, yeah, I have 12 cards in that last round, but I know what 12 of the cards are. A 4-player game, there's 32. I only know what 8 of them are. So this game it's a lot of staring at each other. So don't play with someone who thinks you're creepy already.
Nobody's going to play with me.
Yes. And if you want to go in the
there's no pause to that whatsoever.
No. There's the extreme mode where you play cards face down. You don't look at the cards until all the cards level have been played, and you'll lose lives at that time for every card played out of order.
Wow.
So that's the really, like, because now you don't know it. I mean, and I can't imagine getting past like round 3 in that exchange unless you just like happen to be dealt like, hey, I'm dealt 1, 2, and 3. Well, boom, boom, boom. And now I know my opponent should be fine.
Yeah.
Or sorry, teammate should be fine. I keep saying opponent, but you're not competing against anyone else. You're competing against these freaking cards. So, but it's a great quick play game, but it's just this weird thing. So just looking at each other, and you can't. It's like, I mean, sure, people may play this game where they may work out their little tells ahead of time to cheat, but then you're cheating. So what's the point of playing the game? If you're going to cheat it, you may as well just play with all the cards face up and just, can I count? I can count. 7 is lower than 16. Boom. So, but yeah, it's a fun little, it's one of those great little kind of filler games, but it can be mentally draining. For something that really is so simple, but yeah, it's just a lot of just, do I play this? Do I play this? Do I play this? Why isn't he playing a card? He has to have something lower. I have a 97 and a 64. He's got to have something lower than that. And you're sitting there staring at me. Why isn't he playing a card? I have a 74 and an 82. Why isn't he playing? and you got to watch. You really do have to watch your teammates, because you don't want to just all of a sudden just be like, I think my 22 is the lowest. I'm just going to play it really quick. You want to wait and see what some people do, because you just start throwing cards out. No, like I said, if you have like an under a 10 card, odds are you have the lowest one. Odds are. Not guaranteed, but there's a good chance you do. But, if you've got, like, say, a 23, because this happened in a game I played where we were on round 3, we each got our 3 cards, we touch hands, we look at our cards, and he immediately throws out a 22. I'm like, what are you doing? Because I figured that was the lowest. I'm like, I have an 11 and a 17. So we lost a life because he just immediately played, his 22 without even waiting to look at me. So, because you can kind of, you can get some expression. You can it teaches a lot about reading people's expressions. And you can read that there's an eagerness, there can be, that anxiety or that stress. So, but yeah, I like this one a lot. It's surprisingly simple, and there's really not a huge strategy to it. I mean, it's just kind of playing the odds is what you're kind of doing. What are the odds someone has, out of the 4 cards currently out? What are the odds my teammate has something lower than 9 out of 100? It's pretty low odds, but I mean, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So, but I like it. It's a fun quick play game. And you get frustrated with your teammates, and you yell at each other, but it's all still fun because it's that fun frustration that you get from some games.
Sure.
And because it's a team game, it's like, hey, you didn't beat me, we beat us by being stupid or just not being able to read each other's minds. Or can you?
Or can you? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, first time I played, we made it up, the 2-player game, we made it up to round 5 before we made a mistake.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were doing really good.
I would say so.
Yep. And then we blew it in round 6. First card, I had an 11. I played that. We're like, great. And then I'm about to play my next card. I had a 24, and my teammate places 26. I'm like, oh. That was he didn't wait long enough to see if I was anxious to do anything. He just, oh, well, all right. I'm like, dude, there's 12 cards out. There's a good chance I might still have something. So, but yeah, I like this one a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun. We've only had it in like 5 days, and we've sold through like a dozen copies already. So, but like I said, it's also only a $15 game, so it's a nice small game. It'll fit in your back pocket.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'd say time and time again that game night, sometimes, somebody's not able to make it and we play a game. Well, that would be perfect.
Mm-hmm. Well, and sometimes game night is you're sitting with your significant other or that one friend, and you're like, hey, we got 20 minutes to kill. This is game night. What can we play in 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Is it going to take, half that time just learning how to play? So.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right there. I've been in that situation. And then, after you go through the rules, everybody's like, why don't we check out YouTube to see if somebody's got something, because gameplay, being able to watch gameplay, it's one of the great things about YouTube.
Yes.
Guaranteed that somebody's put out a video on how to play the game, whether it's the company that made the game or whatever.
And if it's a playthrough by a guy named Rodney, who sounds rather Canadian, you don't need to even read the rule book most of the time.
Oh, yes.
Watch it played is my go-to. There's a few others. I know some people love, I'm not going to name names to bash anyone, but some people love to get into all the strategy right away. And I'm like, I just want to learn how to play. Strategy I'll figure out. But don't start talking about strategy when I don't even know what pieces do yet.
Yep.
Yeah, no, you want to say, I'm gonna save these crates. Yeah, these crates I'm gonna save over here because then I can do the. I'm like, I don't even know what crates do yet. So you saying that you're
nope. Basic rule first. Rules first, and then if you want to talk strategy at the end, fine. But that stays at the end.
Yep. So, but that's the mind.
I just love that title.
Yes.
We've been.
And there's so many ways you can say it. You can say it as like the mind, or you can do the mind, and you can do kind of the finger thing that I can't quite do what Bela Lugosi did, but the mind. Or you can be, creepy torso baby from Total Recall. The mind.
Open your mind, Quaid.
Yes.
Open your mind. Yeah. Okay. That would be the late 80s. No, that would have been early 90s. Very early 90s.
Is that 90s already? I can't keep track. About Tomas.
Yeah, 1990.
90, exactly, yeah. Get you about the IMDb.
Yeah, that was during my first full summer living in La Crosse. My roommate had gone home to Wausau to work a gig, and I had a gig in La Crosse, so I had this studio apartment all to myself for the entire summer.
Ooh.
And 1990 was a magical summer for movies. Let me tell you. Total Recall, I think Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
RoboCop 2.
Back to the Future 3, I think, was in 90.
Was it which
Die
one?
Hard, Back to the Future 3.
Oh, okay.
I think Die Hard 2
Mm.
was then. I mean, there was also hype movies because I think Dick Tracy was that year.
Oh, yeah.
And Gremlins 2, I think, was that year.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
I don't remember. What do we look now? Oh, Arachnophobia.
Wow, this took a turn. All right. Say, speaking of taking a turn, if you're looking for dice, you want to turn your attention to Die Hard Dice.
Oh yeah.
Did I make a good segue there? I don't know. Todd and the crew at Die Hard Dice are always working on restocking stuff, always working on getting new and interesting dice and dice accessories like the dice mats, the dice folding dice trays, which I now have used every week for the past, God, I want to say the past 4 weeks. Just because we've had so many people gathered around our table for this particular game session that there's just no room for spreading out. You got to make sure you keep your stuff tight and you don't have dice flying all over the table. So having a folding dice tray is absolutely wonderful. But now Todd he's got his foot in some stores, which is awesome. He's got pricing for retail shops, and he's getting out there even more. He's at the Board Game Barrister.
Oh, is he ever? I keep thinking that it's going to slow down, and I had to place an order. I've been on vacation the last 2 weeks. I had to place an order while on vacation because there was one day where the store sold like 9 sets of the dice.
Oh, geez! Wow.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's amazing how much we're selling this stuff.
And it's high quality dice at an incredibly reasonable price.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm a poet and I didn't know it. So
I'll be placing a reorder soon, so you better go get stuff now before I buy all of it for my store. And then you have to come all the way to Milwaukee to get some. And,
the one thing that, and when we interviewed Todd, he makes sure that his dice are like the metal dice are solid metal dice. The plastic, I say plastic, I mean the polymer dice. It's easy to see imperfections like air bubbles in transparent, translucent dice, but like opaque dice, some companies don't take the time to get the air bubbles out, which can cause inconsistencies in rolling. It's not truly a random result because the balance is off ever so slightly. And he makes sure that he works with companies that don't take the cheap way out with that these dice are solid through and through. And I know he's thorough, and he probably, to test this stuff, he probably cut apart every die that he's ever looked at to make sure, because he absolutely despises a lack of randomness. He doesn't want to have anybody have a crappy experience because they keep rolling 2s on their dice every time because the dice weight is off. He loathes that. So he makes sure that he gets only good quality stuff in, and he sends that out to you. Now, if you use the coupon code Adventure Party, all one word, Adventure Party, you will get 10% off your entire order. And that's not just dice, that's the accessories, it's the folding dice trays, it's the neoprene dice rolling mats, because these metal dice are solid, like we said. They're heavy. And if you're playing a game on grandma's table. Metal dice denting up her table isn't going to fly. So neoprene mats are a necessity in that case. So yeah, check it out. dieharddice.com. All right, the Kickstarter spotlight. Last time we talked about the Ancient World second edition.
Yep, this one was from Ryan Laukat, the guy who did Islebound and Above and Below. They were successful.
Absolutely,
they already were when we first talked about it. So, but I mean, they were looking for $25,000. They brought in $234,948. So this one is definitely happening. It's not coming till June of next year, but great update to a pretty cool game. It was Ryan's first game. I believe it was the first big one he did under his and he's with his. I always screw up the studio. Red Raven Rock. Red Raven.
Red Raven sounds right.
Yeah, Red Raven. So happy that happened. I love his art style. I love his games. So and this edition it's all new. It's updated components, new cover art. There's revised new Titans, and they also added. So it's not just a reskin. They added in expanded gameplay and some other stuff as well. So there's some new stuff in there too, and you can still pre-order it. They got a pre-order up for a limited time, and like all of his other games, this will also end up. If you don't buy it now, this will end up available in stores. So I'll get this in my store. I know for a fact.
Yeah, I'm gonna, for our YouTube viewers, there you go. That is what the cover art for the box looks like, and that is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Wow, looking for 25, brought in 234,000.
Yeah.
Overshot by a little bit, but that is okay. And speaking of overshooting, the one that I'm bringing to our attention, Tiny Epic Mechs, Gamelin Games, and their Tiny Epic series. They now have the game that they're working on releasing here is a mech game. So they've got Tiny Epic Galaxies, Tiny Epic Galaxy, Tiny Epic Western, Tiny Epic
Kingdoms.
That's one I don't have. Tiny Epic Zombies, which I just got.
Tiny Epic Defenders.
Okay.
Which I think is the weakest of the games they've done.
Okay. But looking at, I'm just gonna do my monitor. It fades in and out. There we go. Just want to make sure I'm clicking the right stuff here. All right. So, they just released, and if you check them out on Kickstarter, they have meeples, and basically there's holes in the inside of the elbows of the meeples, or well, if you're looking at it like they're bending their arm, I guess if they've got holes in their forearms, if you look at it a certain way too. But basically, you can build your own mech in this game. You put your meeple inside, you put on the parts that you get in the gameplay, and you're off. And looking at some of these things, and they especially kind of up their game, starting with Tiny Epic Zombies. They added the little plastic pieces that could pop into or make it look like your meeple is holding it, like a chainsaw or a machete. They actually introduced vehicles in that one, so you can actually put your meeple on a motorcycle. I have to take a look inside the box again. There's another wheeled vehicle. I want to say it's like a truck or a police car. I can't recall right now. But they really upped it here. And they've taken all that and really went the distance with their Tiny Epic mechs, including the plastic to go around your meeple. Absolutely beautiful. I say that about a lot of stuff, but I'm absolutely not kidding with this. Absolutely beautiful. Now, they were looking for 15,000. With 19 days to go, they're at $351,866. They've definitely made it. And quite honestly, with my phone, because they've established themselves as a company that gets their stuff out in a timely fashion, their stuff is good quality. It's well thought out games. Although I've been reading some stuff that there's been some complaints about how they write up their rules. You know, they have a very rich background to the story, the storylines, and everything within the game, but some folks aren't happy with how the rules are written for gameplay. So that's the only, just for full disclosure, that's the only bad thing I've ever seen about Tiny Epic games, is how the rule books are written. But that said, they have such a strong following, and we mentioned it before. You can go on YouTube and you can see gameplay. So you shouldn't miss out on these games just because of what you might see on the interwebs about complaints about how rules are slightly ambiguous in spots. I feel like I've totally talked this game down now. The Tiny Epic games, like I said,
buy this fun game that probably has lots of flaws and the rules are terrible and you won't like it.
The rules are poop, but no, the rules are the rules and the gameplay are fine in every Tiny Epic game that I've played. It's just some folks have a hard time following the rules, and other people in threads are like, what are you missing here? This is very easy to follow. So do your research. Just know that Glenn and I are big fans of the Tiny Epic line of games, or at least of the 3 games that I own, I've enjoyed. So we just, I just got Zombies, and I think about a month or so ago, soon after we got back from our honeymoon, Anessa picked up Galaxies. So we haven't played that one yet, but there you go. Tiny Epic Mechs, 19 days to go. They've already blown way past their goal. Get on board. You probably, I'm going to say you're not going to regret it. I'm going to go out on a limb there. You're not going to regret it. So there you go. Kickstarter spotlight. My monitor, I want to punch it in the junk. There we go. All right. Yeah, I got a dual monitor set up, and one of my monitors has just reached that age where it just kind of fades in and out. And of course, it's one of the monitors where I've got my buttons that I need to push to keep this thing rolling, and it intermittently fades in and out. All right, enough of my whining and complaining. Hey, we're going to talk about fudging. When we talk about fudging, we mean taking those die rolls or whatever that you as a GM have, either somebody should hit or their roll is completely arbitrary and you already know how this thing kind of needs to work or whatever to keep the game moving in a direction. Now, that's not to say you should be using the hand of God and taking away all choice from players. But there are times when somebody will, either through a way you've described something, they've picked up on what they think is an important detail and completely take it in a direction that you have not. You're not going to anticipate everything, but at a certain point, if it's a world that you've really thought about, cared about, enjoy, you've thought about, different things that could or could not happen, whatever. And if somebody just runs with something and goes so far out afield, you've got to find a way to bring them back. and how you manage that can be through fudging things. So how much is too much, Glenn?
I mean, it varies from all the time. You don't want to do it. I mean, you don't want to do it to the point where there is no risk in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, there are actually some games I have run where I don't even roll the dice at all, depending on the group I'm playing with. Even if it's a game where there's obviously supposed to be dice rolling, the players still roll their dice, but I don't do as much dice rolling on my side. And I've never had, at least not in the recent, and by recent I mean the last 4 or 5 years that I look back. I mean, I've never had anyone complain, at least not to me, about obviously not rolling dice. And I mean, this is why. I mean, I know there are people who argue it all the time. It's like everyone should make their dice rolls in front of everybody, and no one can that's fudging dice rolls. You're just cheating. I'm like, dude, I'm the game master. Game master is fucking God. God is not beholden to dice rolls. I mean,
Absolutely.
I can't break the rules. I am the rules. So
I am the law.
Exactly. And this notion that this is it's too many people that they forget that it's spelled ROLE, role playing.
Yeah.
And not ROLL. I mean, yes, the dice are there for a reason, because otherwise it's just you're just making stuff up. And for some people that works great, and for some games that works great. And I know there's a lot of people who love rolling the dice, but I think the ones who some of the ones that I've experienced where it's like, well, any fudging of the dice is cheating, period. It's because they also approach the game as a game master versus the players type of situation, which is in almost every game, not every game, in almost every game, that's the wrong attitude to have. Like Hackmaster, that's kind of the tongue-in-cheek thing, is that the players are supposed to be competing against the DM. But I don't know if there's a set limit you can say of how much is too much, because I think it changes all the time. I like to, I don't like to let players die simply because they made a bad die roll. And, it's like, hey, we're like, there have been games I have played in my games that I generally run, because I don't run that much that is pre-packaged stuff. I make everything up. So I can scale everything to the group that's playing and to the situation. And so I can scale it however I want. But I've run people through modules when I'm running like special events, stuff like that. And it's like, hey, you're 2 rooms into the dungeon, and here's a trap. Oh yeah, you fail your saving throw, you're taking 2d8 damage, and you're a level 1 character. Now, if I roll 16, on that rogue who has 5 hit points, he's dead. That's it. He's just dead. Great, way to go. You died. Or you'll have you're fighting the bugbear. What does he do for damage? 1d8 plus 4. Oh, I rolled a 20, so that's a critical hit. So he does max damage plus all this or however you do critical hits. So yep, he just hit the cleric for 26 damage. Cleric's dead. That's it. You're just dead. And I mean, I'm not saying I never kill players. I will at times, but I don't want to kill someone, room 2 of the dungeon. I mean, unless they do something super stupid, and even ignore when I throw out these. Are you sure you want to do that? Because if you're tip outside of the fudging thing, if your game master ever asks, "Are you sure?" This is the time to look back on your life and reflect of all the stupid things you've done, because you're about to add to that list.
Yep.
So, I don't. Like I said, it's too much. You're doing it too much if it is actually ruining everyone else's enjoyment. That's what I'll say. It's too much. Because sometimes it's just fun to tell that story, but you also don't want to do it just to reward the players. You want to reward good role playing, but you also the main thing is you want this to be a fun experience for everyone. It's not fun if you die 20 minutes into the night.
Yeah.
Especially for something that's not really your fault. Oh, I missed my perception roll and didn't see that pit trap, and now I'm dead. And I mean, there are occasions, as I said, there's occasional games where that's the point of it. Running through Tomb of Horrors, yeah, you're gonna die. Running the grinder sessions for Dungeon Crawl Classics, yeah, a lot of you are gonna die. It's a completely different scenario there. Is you're going in expecting bad things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
But
Call of Cthulhu, make sure you have 3 or 4 characters ready.
Yeah, but even that, I mean, Call of Cthulhu, I mean, I'm not gonna kill someone.
Yeah.
So you get to the mansion. Oh, and you're dead. I mean,
yeah.
I want you to, at least get into the game. And generally, this goes under my general rules. I try to make deaths be meaningful if I can.
Yep.
It doesn't even have to be. Doesn't have to be like he sacrificed himself or blah. It can be just that you die in the big boss fight. But you died to henchman number 3. 30 minutes into the evening. I mean, that's kind of a shit way to die. and now that person, that person's not having fun because it's like, well, go sit over there and make a new character, and I'll try to get you back into the game. I mean, I can usually drop people in pretty easily. I know I've played in games though where it's like someone dies and they have to go make a new character. They come back and they just sit there the whole rest of the night because the game master put them. Well, he's in this room. But we don't know that, so now we as players don't go to that room, and that person just sits there the whole night. I'm like, well, you guys never went to the room where he was. I'm like, well, then fucking move him. I mean, why are you letting a player? You're letting someone sit here all night long. I mean, great. They're not going to know how to play again.
Yeah,
and I've seen this happen, especially with new players. I will fudge more often with new players. I'm not going to go new player. Oh, hey, great, welcome to the game. Oh, the ogre just crit hit you. You're dead. What does that mean? It means you're out of the game. But it's 3 hours long and we're only 15 minutes in. Yep, sorry. Hope you enjoyed D&D. We'll see you next week, right? No, you won't. You won't see him again. But like I said, it's the thing is though too is you don't want to make the game where there's no risks. I don't really share with my players that I'm fudging.
Nope.
You don't do that because I mean, I've had the occasional person who's picked up on it because I'll roll a die and they can tell by my facial expression that something bad is going to happen. But this is the thing too, is you can do things on the die roll. You can still make something bad happen. If I roll a crit hit, it doesn't mean I'm just going to say he misses.
Yeah.
But I can still do something mean like, so that ogre swings at you and you manage to block the blow. But in the process, you're still taking some damage. So you're still taking 5 points of damage. But the blow was so fierce, it just destroyed your sword. So yeah, it sucks you're out of a sword, but I'd rather be out of sword than out of my life.
Than dead. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can do these other things that or you can even, I've done it in some games where I'm playing prolonged campaigns where I've scarred people.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I was running a Deadlands one, and I rolled a crit hit, and I'm like, when I critted, I rolled a head hit that would have outright, and the damage I rolled would have outright killed this person. There's like no way they're living through this. So instead, I mean, they took a serious wound to the head, but I blew their ear completely off along with part of their scalp because it was a shotgun blast that hit him in the face.
Jeez, yep.
So. It's like I could have killed him, but I'm like, this wasn't supposed to be a fight to begin with. It was if you push him too much, it'll turn into a fight. But it's supposed to just be a shot or two, and the sheriff shows up. But the one shot he fires, he like boom. It's like I roll max on everything on this poor character. The person didn't even start the fight.
Yep.
I was just thinking of for his friends, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to kill you, but boom, and. People for a long time called him, huh? Because that's what he played the character well. So he always said, every time someone asked me, you go, huh? if they were on his left side. And when I was right side, he would answer properly because that's where his good ear was. Or his only ear, I should say. But yeah, so I mean, I physically scarred this person. And it affected his gameplay whenever he reacted with people, talking to people. And there's this dude, missing an ear and a giant scar over half his face. Because I mean, this whole like the cheek, it was all blown away. So there's only so much you can do. So
give him the Jonah Hex treatment.
Yeah. So like I said, fudginess doesn't mean there's no consequences to something happening.
Yeah. There should always be some stake in the game. There has to be, drama's a strong word, but there needs to be tension. There needs to be action that moves things forward in the game. You know, yeah,
I will add one other thing though, is I don't just fudge in favor of the players.
No.
I have fudged in the bad guy's favor, because sometimes the players, I underestimated, exactly how good they were.
Yeah.
Or just I'm just rolling bad dice. And it's no fun for most people. Some people all they want to do is they want to win all the time and dominate everything. And I don't usually run those types of games, so people who want that style of play, who play with me once, they don't play again, because it's like we played 3 hours and there was one combat. Sometimes there's no combat.
Yeah.
But if it's it's like, God, this is the boss fight, and we're 4 rounds in, and the heroes all have still max health. They haven't taken a single point of damage. You know what? I'm going to lay a thump on the fighter, just so that they at least think it's like, oh, this isn't a cakewalk.
Yep.
And I fudge things too when the players are being overly cocky, just to remind them that, hey, there are real consequences that can happen.
Sure.
And so sometimes I just have an idea in mind, and I roll a die, and the die means nothing. I already know what's going to happen to somebody. It's like, it's you're yelling and screaming, really loud out in the Arctic wilderness at the edge of a mountain. I'm going to roll a die. Oh yeah, look at that. A big chunk of ice just fell off the side of the mountain and hit you in the head. I'm not gonna kill someone for it, but I'll be like, boom, you're being an idiot in an area where you shouldn't be an idiot, and you just took 7 points of damage from a giant outcropping of ice falling on you because you caused a mini avalanche by your screaming really loud when you were told, hey, we could cause an avalanche. What?
Have you ever you gave the example of laying a hit on the fighter. Have you done a fudge where you've brought in henchmen that you hadn't originally thought you were going to bring in?
Oh, like someone to help the players?
No, to help the
bad
villain,
guys.
The bad guy.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Opponent. Okay.
I do that all the time. And this goes to the number of people I've had complain is the players ruined the campaign because they killed the big bad guy too easily, or they did something like. If players ruin the game, that's the GM's fault.
Yeah, that's
not the player's fault.
Yeah.
I was running it was a pre-made module that I was running them through, and they come up to the big bad boss, and this was in a game where you have exploding dice. Where if you roll the max on a die, you re-roll it, and as long as you keep rolling the max number on the die, so if it's a D6, you roll a 6, you roll it again, and you're just adding these numbers together. And this person had their exploding dice. They got a hit on the big bad, and they rolled their damage, and their damage was 2d8, and they roll a dice, and they roll 2 8s. They roll them again, and they get 2 more 8s. And they roll them again, and he gets a third 8 and a 7. So now he's already up to 31 points of damage. He rolls that 8 and gets another 8. That's at 39 and rolls it again and gets a 6. He did 45 points of damage and killed the big bad guy in the very first hit of the combat. Now, I'm not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
Because the villain, just like the heroes, the villain's not going to be felled that easily. And I've done different things where one is that, they grievously wound him, but he survives. Or the guy they just killed that they thought, I pull the Mandarin on him from Iron Man before Iron Man ever did it in the movie, where it's like, yeah, that's not the actual main bad guy. That's either it's in some ways I've done it where it's a lookalike, it's a clone, it's a projection, or it's his second. It's the face of the organization, and there's secret this guy behind the scenes that's actually the big bad guy that they'll meet later. And I mean, I can usually, because I run the majority of my games very, very improv style, I can recover pretty easily. A lot of people can't, and they don't know what to do. And I'm just like, just fudge the die. It's like, so, okay, so he did 45 points of damage to him. He's going to kill him in one hit. Well, this guy doesn't have 48 points. He has 50. Or he had, some kind of, depending on what game you're playing. If you're playing a sci-fi game, he had an energy shield that absorbed half that damage. I mean, his shield's destroyed.
Yep.
It's one of the same things as I figured out fairly early on in my gaming careers as a game master of the, well, you beat the big bad guy and you open the chest and inside there, well, there's a magic sword and there's potions of healing. I'm like, why the fuck didn't the bad guys use these?
Yeah.
Why didn't he use those potions of healing? And I've had players in some of my longer campaigns in the day who caught on to the fact that the longer the fight goes on, the less cool stuff they're going to get, because all the potions are going to get drunk. Especially like when they know the heroes are coming. The hero's been tromping through the half orc's fortress, killing all of his minions. And they're like pounding on the those little throne room doors or whatever. I'm like, dude, he's drinking that freaking potion of heroism. He's not going to leave it sit in the chest for them to loot off his dead bodies. Be like, no. I mean, it doesn't matter how tough the villain thinks he is. You got to run him, with some sense of brains, and you can't just rely on, I'll just fudge the dice. Well, no, play him smart too.
Yep.
But I mean, fudging is something that I think a good DM does when it calls for it.
Yeah. It should never. I want to say it shouldn't be done arbitrarily. There needs to be a purpose to it. Not, I'm just going to screw with people.
Yeah, no.
There needs to be a reason for it. There needs to. One of the things that's very difficult, and you kind of touched on it earlier, is as a GM, even if you look at character sheets for your game players and you are developing antagonists for your sessions, you can't always take into account, if your players are just having a hot night with rolling,
Yeah.
And you don't want to have a situation where things get so, I guess what I'm trying to say is you don't want things to be so lopsided that, they steamroll somebody that they shouldn't have, and then in another game they get their butts handed them by, a small group of minions. There needs to be somewhat of consistency is the wrong. You need to be in control enough that folks feel like they're getting the bang for their buck. They're giving you their time. You are all working together to make a story. Everybody should walk away from the table feeling like they've had a good time, that they've accomplished something, and all the better if there was such a, like a dramatic moment or something like that, that they really latch on to, that they really, when they think about the game, there was that moment where they, something amazing happened and they remember that forever and talk about it forever. That's not going to happen all the time, but if you can, as the game master, try to ensure that everybody has a good time, and not by necessarily cheating the players or cheating the game, but storytelling in and of itself doesn't depend on dice. You tell a story, you're not rolling dice when you do it. You're coming up with the concept and you're writing it down. You're saying the words, whatever. The same thing goes with die rolling. The die rolling is a part of the skeleton to the structure of a game that everybody agrees on that they're playing. But at the end of the day, the hierarchy of how things are running is you're still telling a story. The rules will always be secondary to the story. They should always be secondary to the story. The rules are there just to give everybody guidelines with how things should work. And as a GM, you shouldn't deviate so far from the rules, but just nudge things in directions to keep things interesting, moving. Because nobody, oh God, and you know what's worse is playing a system that is notorious for, you know, you've got 6 players and the math is so intensive with dice and everything that a round takes like a half an hour for 5 people. You know, you got to keep that moving. And whether you take some hit points away from your bad guy to keep things moving, keep things moving. Mm-hmm. And you shouldn't feel bad about doing it because everybody's there investing their time to build something together. So, yeah, you and I are firm believers in fudging when necessary. Like we said, never something you should do arbitrarily, but as a decision to keep the story moving. So there you go. Yep. Any other thoughts on fudging? I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah, and I mean, I recently started doing my little DM tips for our store blog, and this is one of the ones. This is one of the ones that I did because it came up where one of our younger DMs was asking because they were having problems with new players, and I'm like, I said, do you have a DM screen? They're like, no, I figure I should roll out where everyone can see me because that way they know I'm not cheating. I'm like, it's not cheating. It's like you're in charge of the game. You don't roll in front of your players. I mean, I'm not saying don't roll, but yeah, that's something. Like I said, that's something I will do occasionally, depending on the game and how. And if we're all just really super engaged in the story, they're being we stop rolling dice. But I'm like, you should still roll dice. You don't want players to think that you're fudging.
Constantly,
and you don't want to fudge constantly.
No.
And that's the other thing is the last thing we didn't cover is that so you can fudge your rolls. You can't fudge the player rolls. Everyone saw Bob roll a 1. Bob groaned loud enough that everyone knew it was a 1. That doesn't mean you have to kill him.
Yeah.
But you can have something bad happen. But also, it's don't use the fudge to get someone out of a stupid situation. Timmy, your paladin's dead. Maybe you should have thought about that before you tried jumping off a 1,000-foot cliff.
Yeah, if somebody's doing something so blatantly,
I thought I could ride the wind currents. Like, no. Well, there was that story of that guy who survived. It's like, yeah, have been people who have survived massive falls, but you know what? Most people don't.
Yeah.
And if I just went by the rules, it's like you're level 4. How many hit points do you have? 26. Great. It's 1d6 for every 10 feet. So every 10 feet beyond the first 10. So I'm rolling 99d6. Let's see. Even if I roll 1s and everything, you're still taking more than 70 points over your total hit points. You'll be dead. I'm not going to roll it. and that's an actual thing that happened in a game at a convention.
Oh, really?
They jumped off. It wasn't 1,000 feet. It was like 600 feet. And I said, they said, well, it's into water. I'm like, doesn't matter. You're jumping 600 feet into water.
Yeah,
I have a good swimming skill. I'm like, no. No. There's cliff divers, but cliff divers don't dive 600 feet.
Yeah. There's on
top, and this person I didn't have the fall kill them. They ended up drowning, pretty much. I just said you're dead, and they're like, well, but they were arguing lots of stuff. I'm like, dude, you're a paladin in full plate armor, jumping off a cliff into water, in the base of the ocean. You sink, brother.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you know? This is not.
Yeah, there's fudging, and then there's just bending the rules so far that there's no point to even having the rules. It's the fine line. It's the fine line.
Yeah.
If they jump 20 feet to avoid certain death on one end.
Oh, sure.
That's one thing, but you can't protect people from just making really, really horrible errors in judgment. And that your description is somebody that's just like, I paid to be here. Screw you. What are you going to do to me? Well, here we go. I guess we're off to the races.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at that point, if you're like, well, okay, well, you live, everybody else is going to be like, what? There's no stake in the game at that point. There's no, you've lost control of the game at that point if you let that sit. If you let that stand, you've lost control of the game. And I hope people aren't listening to this going, oh, it's all about control. Well, it's about shepherding the story. That's your job.
Yeah.
If you're running the game, you're shepherding the story. Yes, you need to look at the rules. Yes, you need to, you need to plan the game out, have an idea of what's going to happen. But fudging is about keeping either people in the game a little bit longer because, fate didn't necessarily smile upon them or, just flat out gave them the middle finger. But you don't want them to die. It doesn't serve the story. But then, conversely, you can't have people just, I fall on my sword and I'm okay, right? Well, no, you did that on purpose. So no, that's just not going to work. So there's the fine line. You're in charge of the game. You're the arbiter of when is the time to fudge, when is not, and your word is final because you're running the game. So all a part of the responsibility and the powers that come with running a game. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. On that note, I think we're going to wrap things up. If you'd like to chat with us or other listeners of the Galactic Network podcast group, that's what I meant to say. Join us 24 hours a day. You can go to gncast.com/signup and we'll add you to our Slack team so you'll have the ability to interact with us in real time. Again, go to gncasts.com/signup. For more on this podcast, including show notes, contact info, and more, you can go to gncasts.com/adventure. If you have a question or comment about anything that you've heard on this Galactic Network podcast, like, your examples of fudging sucked.
Yeah.
Rules are everything, whatever. Engage us. We'll discuss it most certainly. You can contact us at our email address, which is adventure@gncasts.com. You can leave a voicemail or text us at the number 805-328-3966. Again, 805-328-3966. Or you can go to gncasts.com/contact, where you can send us a message there. We do read, listen to, and appreciate all of your feedback. You can subscribe to this Galactic Network podcast by going to gncasts.com/subscribe or search iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, or anywhere podcasts are offered. And last but certainly not least, thank you to Mark Wooldridge of Central Battery Music Works, who created our theme. So, thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Brad.
As always, a good talk about another gaming topic that this is kind of an important one. It's like art, you know. It's subjective. When do you step in? When do you step back? And that's something that you learn in time. You learn as you get to know your players. Every group is going to be different, but as you get comfortable with fudging, it becomes easier. So, hey, if people want to find out more about the B-Movie Bunker or Mist Runner or how things are going on Demon Eater, where can they find you, Glenn?
Best place is going to be on Twitter, at Guy in a Bunker. That's where I've been on there a lot. I'm also on Facebook, as is Demon Eater, Mist Runner, some other games, and the B-Movie Bunker. It's also on YouTube and my long neglected web pages of mistrunner.com and guyinabunker.com, which I hope to fix soon. But I haven't posted much stuff there lately, but I'm all over the place.
You are the BFD, sir, as always.
Sure.
Well, thank you, folks, for checking us out here at the Adventure Party. May your characters never die and your adventures always be epic. Thank you and good night.
Good night.